Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is. Welcome to the October 27th meeting of the Rotary Club of Milledgeville. Would Jamie please come be our Rotarian of the day?
All right, bow your heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful day. Thank you for this wonderful food and the great fellowship. Thank you for this organization that does so much good. Thank you for our service members and all your many blessings. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
And four way tip. First.
Is it true?
Second.
Is it higher officer?
Third. Fourth.
Will be beneficial to all concerned.
And fifth.
Is it fun? Thank you, Jamie. As you sit down, please silence your cell phones, dump your change in the cart bucket. And do we have any prayer requests? William, do we know of anything? Has anybody heard from Wendell? Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say Wendell is wanting to do better.
Good.
But he's still spending a lot of time out there and I think they're pretty powerful.
Cool. Thank you, Eric.
Joel has taken care of her grandmother for the last 5 years and they put her in intensive care.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. All right, thank you. All right, Greg, are we ready with guests and raffle?
All right, we have one guest this week who will be inducted next week, I think. Joey, where's
Oh.
Joy Simpson?
She's over there.
Welcome back, Joy. Okay. We'll let our speaker draw a ticket. Hand it to me if you would. Okay. All right, the winning number ends in 786. 786. Nobody? You're holding out on
Is that right?
Oh, you're asking me? Yeah, wrong. Looking for the Queen of Hearts and the Six of Clubs.
Ah,
We got you.
nice try.
Thank you for pointing.
All right, thank you, Greg. Do we have any community announcements? I know there's some items on your table about something fun at GMC on November 4th, 3rd,
November 4th.
whatever that.
Doing a system change.
Yes, at GMC. John?
Yes, so this Saturday, Baldwin County School System along with Chamber of Commerce and Representative Rick Williams will be dedicating the intersection at Langley Road and 49 to our teacher that passed away several years ago. Terrific tragic car accident was taken off. They'll be there with DOT and a ribbon cutting ceremony at 10 a.m. Saturday morning.
Thank you, John. Also Friday night is a wine and cheese reception at Allied Arts. And that's also the night when all the fun stuff is happening out at Central State Hospital. The fun haunted hay rides, the Grove is going to be open. I think they're doing trunk or treat, a lot of stuff going on out there. Any other community announcements? All right, club business. I'm gonna hand it over to Erin.
Okay, so today's the day we turn in your 10 total tickets. If you want to win a polo, a Rotary polo, give them Kristen in the back. If you haven't sold your 10 tickets, that's cool. Continue selling. You have until November, the Thursday before Thanksgiving to turn them in or to sell them, to turn in your money. we're ordering t-shirts for every Rotarian. Sign up sheets in back, so if you missed it last week, sign up with what style t-shirt and what size you would like. And also registration is open for the conference, so you can go ahead and register for the conference. Hope to see a big showing from Milledgeville. We're gonna be actually handling registration, so we need several volunteers there as well.
And a reminder, it's at Callaway Gardens. I mean, hello, Rotary, huh? Rotary and Callaway. It's two best things in the world. So I'll be there. All right. Let's see, other club business. Oh, shoot. Thank you. Yes, I completely forgot. Go ahead. Sorry, it wasn't on my list. I didn't write it down. I forgot.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have our service project that is coming up, next month. Is November 19th, it's a Saturday, from 9 to 11, and that's what we put together our Thanksgiving basket. We have, identified 75, and Jennifer asked me why 75, because that's the number we started out with, and we kept it that way, we have not changed it. In the past, Rotarians have contributed to the basket, and then this year we decided that we were going to buy the food, meaning the club was going to buy the food, but we need you to volunteer to help us put it together, and also we need your help in identifying families that would go without if we did provide a Thanksgiving meal to them. So there will be a form that I'm going to be sending out. Not sure if you're going to send it out or somebody else, but it's a Google form where you fill out whether you can volunteer, and then the family that you would like to sponsor, and then we would like you to deliver that to that family. And so we will also ask you for the commitment to deliver, which is a box to the family on Saturday. What has happened in the past, sometimes we get stuck with those classes, and then I have to figure out how to get it to the people. So I need your help. I'm not only volunteering, but then delivering it to the families. Most of the time, I would say 2/3 of the boxes go to families within the Baldwin County School District. We identify those families that are in need, experience financial hardships. And so, but if you have families that you know, please put them on that form and let us know if it's 1 or 2 or 3, so we can make sure that we're getting enough to support. But we have families that may not meet that federal guideline of living in poverty, but they're struggling financially. And so this would be a big help. So we need your help. The 19th, we ordered the food from Walmart, and we'll be ready to go. But be looking out for that form.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Norris. Yeah, Norris and I had this conversation the other day after I had a conversation with some of you that are past presidents, talking about how in the past, it wasn't just about us coming together to put the baskets together. It was about each of us identifying somebody who needs that basket. And it doesn't have to necessarily be someone who qualifies for government assistance, like Norris said. I mean, all of us know somebody in our church or our coworker's grandmother who, for whatever reason, is just struggling right now. So those people, those are the people we want these baskets to go to, in addition to the families in the school system that need it. So start putting some thought into that, and we'll be getting that list and the sign up out to you. So we really want Rotarians to be a little bit more engaged in the project this year. And I'm looking to all of you to help. So thank you. All right.
How are we paying for the past? If I know in the past, was carrying to basically purchase a basket or food.
Right. That you will be getting an invoice through Norris from Walmart. We get all the food from Walmart, so it'll just be one big invoice.
About 2 things this year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So good deal. All right.
Hey, Jen.
Yeah.
Was that part of the decision of where our funds are gonna go? Have y'all made decisions on what else we're gonna do?
That is a conversation that is in process. All of this was in a meeting about a week ago. The Council of Past Presidents are working on that. They have a list that they're chewing through. Yep. All right. How many of you still have your purple pinky? Anybody besides me? Because I've been too lazy to take it off. Yay, good. How many people asked you about it? Nice. Do you have any fun stories about people asking you about Polio Plus, Greg?
Found myself in urgent care over the weekend with sinus infection. The girl asked me what the purple was. And when I gave her my speech, and I said, "No, that's gonna cost me $1." She went and got every been lined up outside my exam room, and they each asked me a question.
Oh my gosh. So how much are you donating to Polio Plus today?
So I owe $13.
Nice. All right, well, last Thursday, about a couple hours after I left this meeting, I had a garden club meeting. So I got $20 I'm putting in for Polio Plus because everybody in garden club wanted to know if I for had pink fingers except for one. Any other fun Polio Plus stories? What other amounts? On, at least your spouse asked you. Please tell me your spouse asked you why you had a purple pinky.
Nobody knows. You and family do not know.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, we don't have Wendell here to do happy dollars first today, but if you could put a little something extra in the cart bucket today, all of that will be going to Polio Plus today. What Rotarian can explain to me what Polio Plus is? No? Okay. So what happens a lot of times when the Rotarians go into a third world country to give the vaccines, they're like, "Oh, thank you so much for the vaccine. By the way, I don't have clean water. I don't have clothes. I don't have food for my children." So the Polio Plus account allows these people to do more than just deliver the vaccines. It allows them to take in these basic needs to these families as well. So yay, that's what you're supporting today. All right, Wes Cummings, would you please join me at the front with Lynn Chandler and Crystal? There, good. All right, Wes, in 1905, Paul Harris was a young lawyer in Chicago, and he was lonely as a newcomer to a big city, and he wanted to become acquainted with other business professionals in Chicago. And so on the evening of February 23rd, 1905, he met with 3 friends to discuss his ideas. And from that gathering, they created the first Rotary Club. Only 16 years later, Rotary had clubs on 6 continents. Our members now span the globe, working to solve some of our world's most challenging problems. In 1979, we tackled polio, and we have gotten it down to 3 cases worldwide. When Rotary went international, Paul Harris famously said, "Whatever Rotary may mean to us, to the world, it will be known by the results it achieves." Today, you are embarking on a new great adventure in friendship and service to your vocation, your community, and your fellow man. You are not just joining the 68 Rotarians in Milledgeville, but over 1.4 million Rotarians in over 200 countries. All are business and professional people united by the common ideal of service above self. Milledgeville Rotarians, please join me in welcoming Wes Cummings as our newest Rotarian.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're magnetic now, which is nice, but that is one.
Oh, thank you.
Years.
All right, here, I'll scooch.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. More.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, Tamara, would you like to introduce our guest speaker for today?
Hey, everyone. Our guest speaker is a passionate advocate of adoption and fostering for children, and her nonprofit Queen of Bags initiative has delivered and put together over 12,000 bags and other gifts for children all over the country, nursing homes, military families, and across the world. Please welcome today's guest, Allison Wilkinson. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for having me.
Put it up. The Zoom connection too.
Okay.
You can start.
Okay. All right. Well, thank y'all so much for having me today. My name is Allison Wilkinson, and like Tamara was just saying, I do bags for foster care. It's called the Queen of Bags Initiative. And I want to tell you a little bit about my journey and how I started that, because this time 10 years ago, you never would have seen a crown on my head, and I never would have guessed that I had my own nonprofit organization. No, you're fine. Okay,
I mean, I think you should be able to do.
okay. Yeah, you can leave it right there. That,
Is
oh,
it through?
go to the. right there. Do that one.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. All right. So now, I'm trying to figure out where to stand. So, so a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Sandersville, right down the road. And I lived in Milledgeville actually for 10 years. And I was kind of joking a little bit earlier. I lived in Milledgeville and drove to Sandersville for work for 7 years. And now I live in Sandersville and I drive to Milledgeville for work. So I'm just glutton to drive. I can't help myself. But a little bit about me. I went to Brentwood High School. I'm not going to tell you what year. I just had a reunion, so you can guess. Let's guess more like 5, not 20. But I graduated from Brentwood, and then I first started at Georgia College, and I decided after a year and a half of being here that I should have gone to Georgia Southern. So I decided that I was going to transfer to Georgia Southern, and I transferred there, and I completed my degree in business logistics and intermodal transportation. And then I met a boy from Milledgeville and I moved back. So my dad kind of jokes and he said, you had to go all the way to Statesboro to meet somebody to move back to Milledgeville. And so that's what I did. And during that time, after we got married, I started working. At first, I worked for the governor of Georgia, Sonny Perdue, who is now the chancellor for the USG. So he has been my boss continuously over the years. He's been my boss more than one time. And he actually married my husband and me. He did our wedding ceremony. But I worked for him in the governor's office. Followed by that, I worked at the Department of Transportation for a few years, and I bought land. So when they were expanding the roads, and the mean person that had to come and say, hey, we got to take your land, that was me. And I hated it because I did not want to go tell people I had to buy their land. So after that, I took a leap of faith and I took a job at a brand new place in Sandersville called the USG Shared Services Center. I was there when the doors opened. I was employee number 4, and they are the business that does all of the payroll and benefits for all the universities. They're kind of the center hub and help desk there. So I worked there for 5 years, and then I came to Georgia College in 2014. And I have been at Georgia College since 2014. First as a payroll manager, then as assistant director of payroll, and now I'm the director of payroll services. And I love being at Georgia College. I love everything about it. During that time, though, my husband and I, if you read a little bit about me from the newsletter, my husband and I decided we were ready to have a family. And unfortunately, it just was not working out, and we experienced infertility issues. And we got to the point where the doctors told us either you're going to need to look into in vitro or look into adoption. And it was pretty heartbreaking experience as a woman. It still makes me emotional, but we decided that we weren't going to look at the negative and we were going to find the positive to this. And that we decided that maybe God had a different plan for us. And so we decided to look into adoption. Did not know much about it. What we knew was that based on all of our research, that it would take us 3 to 6 months to get approved. And then from there, they said that the average wait time was about a year for the possibility of adopting a child. We wanted an infant, but we had said that we would take up to 2 children and up to 2 years old. So we knew that we could have 2 children under 2, we could have a baby. We were putting everything in God's hands. So we did the adoption process right under 3 months. We got approved. And then within 3 weeks, we found out about a baby boy that was going to be born. We didn't know where. We just knew that there was a baby a possibility. We sent in our application on a Friday, and that Monday they picked us. And yeah, and then surprise, I started working at Georgia College when he was 6 months old, and when he was 8 months old, we decided we were going to do in vitro. But 2 weeks before, I found out I was pregnant. So I have been at Georgia College for less than 3 months, and I had to tell my boss, guess what? I'm going to go on maternity leave. So, you know, I told you a few minutes ago that we were saying that we could possibly have 2 under 2 through adoption, but we did have 2 under 2. It's just 1 through birth, 1 through adoption. They're 15 months apart. And my son, my adopted son, looks just like my nephew and acts just like my dad. And if that's not God, I don't know what is. And okay, so so all this is going on, adoption, we've adopted and I've given birth. And so I never did pageants growing up. I did like the little local pageants, but I was never one of those like toddlers and tiaras or anything. And I never did the Miss Georgia pageant or any of that. That was, though I loved it and I loved watching it, it was not anything I had ever considered. I was too busy cheering and doing stuff like that. But when Tucker, I gave birth to him in March of 2015, that September, I was watching the Miss America pageant and I watched Betty Cantrell from Fort Valley, Warner Robins, win Miss America. And I was feeling pretty down about my weight and just, you know, giving birth. And I just wasn't confident in myself. And I was like, why did I ever do that? And so I looked and I was like, I'm pretty sure there's a Mrs. Georgia. And I had no idea the pageant world is how huge it was for Mrs. But I decided, okay, I'm going to sign up for this pageant. My husband thought I had just needed to go to the loony bin when I told him this. But I was like, well, this is my theory. If I have to go get on stage in a swimsuit, I'm going to go to the gym because I don't want to embarrass myself. So that's going to be my motivation. I had to have that goal for myself. And I would get to buy a pretty dress. So I was like, here I go. And I went into this pageant and I had no idea what I was doing. The top picture, where it says Mrs. America, I had no idea what I was doing, but I had a good time. And so that was the only one I was going to do. It was going to be a one and done. And then I was going to get back to my normal life. But what I found out when I was there, I didn't make top 5 or anything like that, but I won the community service award. And they said, your community service was exemplary. We want, just want you to know that it was, we really, appreciate all that you do for community service. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, then I got recruited from another director to do another pageant that was more focused on community service, and you were expected to give back. And so I said, okay, well, I'll give it a whirl. I had fun. I'll try it again. Now that I know somewhat of what I'm doing, then things I need to do. And she really pushed me. She was like, what's your platform? And my platform was adoption and fostering awareness. And she said, okay, that's great. But what about the awareness are you raising? And I was like, I just want to tell people about how great adoption is and how you should foster. And she said, okay, but what? You need to find your reason why you want to do this. And I said, okay, I will think about it. And so I, started thinking about the things I could do. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more when I get a little bit on about what I did. But so far I have competed in 10 or 11 pageants, I think. And I have 3 national titles, and I'm going to be competing for an international title next year. And I'll tell you more about that in a second too. So my one and done kind of just didn't happen. I had to keep going. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about foster care and tell you some facts. So every year there's over 400,000 children in foster care. That's an incredibly large number. It's scary. And the number 1 cause is neglect, followed by parental drug abuse. And over 100,000 of those at any given moment are available for adoption, which means that their parents or whoever their parental guardian has relinquished all rights, or the court has relinquished all rights, meaning they are warden of the state. and you could get approved for fostering and adoption and immediately adopt that child. And average time in foster care is 12 to 20 months, and the average is 7 to 8 years old. I have a 7-year-old and an 8-year-old, and to think about that is heart-wrenching. To think about a child that age, not having a parent, not having someone that loves them, or not someone consistently in their life. And it's absolutely devastating. But what's worse is that every year over 20,000 children age out of foster care without a permanent residence, without someone to call a parent or a guardian to take care of them. And these children, a lot of times, are going to end up on the streets, whether it's through drugs, prostitution, and just plain out homeless. And that's unacceptable. But one amazing thing, you'll see the red, National Adoption Day. Every year for the past 20 years, there's an event called National Adoption Day, and it's your National Adoption Month, which is November. And over 75,000 children have been adopted on this day. This day is been established to promote parents or who are fostering children to take that plunge and to adopt that child and give them a permanent home. National Adoption Day is celebrated all over the United States. It has been recognized in Milledgeville through a proclamation in 2017, and then Sandersville in 2018. We've done several National Adoption Day events here in Sandersville and in Milledgeville. And so National Adoption Day is always the Saturday before Thanksgiving. Y'all, my adopted son, his name is Judson with a D, not a T. He was born in November, so National Adoption Month. But his first birthday fell on National Adoption Day. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you some state facts. So right here in Georgia, there was over 14,000 children in foster care this past year. And 2740, that's the number of children who had a permanency goal for adoption, meaning that there was a plan for them, which is awesome. That means they were on a path to be adopted. But over 700 of these in the middle Georgia area that are needing homes. I've just put some screenshot or pictures of, these are all organizations that I've worked with. They're not all necessarily in Georgia. They're around, some of them have locations all over the United States, like Bethany Christian Services, NECO. You have the Methodist Home and the Baptist Children's Home. They have other locations. The Blair Foundation is my most recent volunteer. That's in Raleigh, North Carolina. NECA is all over Georgia, but I've helped them in Savannah. P.S. I Love You Ministries is in Spartanburg, South Carolina. But the one that's so important to me is the one of the little baby that's sitting in the flower. That is Crystal Adoptions, and that is our home adoption agency. And that is an organization we went through when we adopted Judson. Okay. Oh, 350 of these children are available for adoption of the 700. That's half. So a fact, over 135,000 children are adopted in the United States each year. And in 2013, our son was one of them. So that's him. And that's his most recent school picture. I think he's pretty handsome. So he will be 9 next month, and he's gotten mighty sassy. He's getting the tween years, I guess you'd say. So, okay, I want to talk a little. There we go. So I wanted to tell y'all a little bit, because I have some hardware on my head, and it's a little big, it's a little flashy, just like me. Oh, I went too far. Sorry. There we go. So I've done a good bit of pageants. I've started out doing some in Georgia, doing some. I've competed in Las Vegas a couple of times. I've competed in Nebraska. I've competed in Kansas City, and I've most recently competed in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So one thing I love about pageantry is that I have gone to a lot of places that I never would have. Like, I had no reason to go to Omaha, Nebraska, but I've been there several times now and know it pretty well. But pageantry has really opened the door for so many things for me, and it's a lot of fun when you win. I'll tell you that much, but it's also humbling, and you learn a lot and meet a lot of people through pageantry. And pageantry is the reason why I have my nonprofit organization and why it's done as well as it's done. But it's also the reason why I've made so many new friends and connections and had so many opportunities far beyond what I could have imagined I'd do for myself. So last August, I decided I was going to look into Petite USA. If y'all haven't noticed, I'm a little petite, I'm short, I'm 5'2". And what I liked about this is that you can only be 5'6" or less to enter the pageant. So you're not gonna be standing next to somebody who's 6 feet tall. One of my best friends in pageantry is, no lie, 6 foot barefooted. So she calls me her mini me, because when we stand beside her, she's almost a foot taller than me. So I was excited about that because I was like, hey, I'll be like average, maybe even tall for this pageant. So I decided to look into it, and I love that it's very much community service driven, which is what speaks to me. They are certified with the Presidential Service Award, and they expect you to get out there and do stuff. And that's the reason why I do it. So I went off to Milwaukee, Wisconsin in August. I pulled my boys out of school for 3 days, their first week of school, and I was like, judge me if you won't, they are coming. And I'm so glad I did that, because they were there and they watched me win. But there were over 30 women, and so I was a little intimidated, because even though I felt like I was qualified and had worked hard for this, I was like, well, so have the other women. And so when it got to, I was like, if I can just make top 15, I know that I've done my work. I've at least made that. I've got to do that. And then I was like, okay, I made it. Now, if I could just make the top 5. And when they called my name for top 5, I was very excited. But when it got down to the final 2, y'all, you probably could have shaken me off the stage, because I was so nervous. My dad said he could see it through the computer screen. He said, you were, this is his words, you were shaking like a pig in a sausage factory. That was his words to me. And I was like, well, what do you expect? So the last time I was shaking that hard was on homecoming court my senior year, and I was holding his arm, and I didn't win. So I was like, this got to be a better result. And so when they called my name, it was one of the biggest honors of my life. So anyway, but what's even more exciting about this is that the year of events that I get to do, I get to promote my platform at a national level, international level. And I found out while at the pageant that the Universal pageant, they were adding a Mrs. category. So I am the very first Mrs. Petite USA to compete for a Universal title. And I will be going on a cruise from Tampa to Cozumel and competing on a cruise ship. So if anybody has a boat and wants to let me practice walking on the lake in 6-inch heels, that's what I was told, is to get, to go practice on a boat. I'm a little nervous about that, but I'm really excited, because that even gives me another opportunity to promote my platform at an international level. And I'm really excited about that. I think my boys started packing when they were putting the crown on my head. They said, we're going to Mexico. And my husband got really terrified, and I was like, nope, if you go, they go. So get prepared. So all that's to say is all this pageantry resulted in my nonprofit organization. So I told you that when I first started pageantry, that director was telling me, why are you doing this? But what's the reason? What's the reason? And I was trying to figure out my why. I was standing in Bally's Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, when the Queen of Bags initiative was born. I was playing on my phone while my husband was playing a slot machine, and I saw an ad, and it said, did you know that when children go into foster care, they don't always have a bag of their own, and they're given a trash bag? And I was like, can't be true. That can't be true. So I called my mother-in-law, like immediately. I stopped what I was doing and called her. She worked for the Department of Family and Children's Services in Putnam at that time. And I said, this isn't true, is it? And she said, it happens every single day. And I just immediately said, this is what I'm doing. And so the first set of bags, which is the picture right here, was by the Milledgeville JCs. And when I had this idea, I was like, okay, well, I have this wonderful idea, but I need money. So I can't do this on my own. So I was like, okay, let's go to the JCs. And it got approved out here on this golf course. The board approved it. See, we were doing a golf tournament. And I said, I need money and I need your help. This is what I want to do. And they said, okay, let's have a vote right now. Board approved it. We did it. And we did the first set of bags here in Baldwin County. 40 bags were delivered. And since then, I was like, okay, we can do this. I can do this. I just got to find ways to get money. Pageantry has been my way to promote this, and going to speak to groups and letting them know the need. There's always a need for bags in foster care. There's always a need for items for them. So within these bags that I do, so you'll see the pictures of me holding book bags. You can do a book bag or duffel bag, but they always, if they come from me, they always have a teddy bear or stuffed animal, a blanket, hygiene kit, coloring books, crayons, and socks. And then we try to put other items in there such as school supplies, water bottles, small toys, anything we can do to give them the comfort and the items that they need. Because it happens all the time where people come into foster care and have the clothes on their back. Or they're pulled out quickly and they didn't get to get their items, or their parents won't relinquish their items and they come in with the clothes on their back. I've heard more than one story from people, friends of mine that have gone to foster that have called and said, what do you have in your basement? They know I have just boxes of stuff that people donate and I hold it until I need it. And they'll say, I just got 3 fosters and they literally don't have underwear. I mean, it's sad. It's sad. And I had a friend recently who called and she said her friend had gotten a 13-year-old from Augusta. She had 30 minutes to pack her items and she didn't even have a book bag to start her new school that following week. So I had book bags. We went and gathered as many items as we could to give to her so that she had book bag and school supplies so she could start school and have the items needed. So one thing I have coming up, and it's going on right now, is called Operation Book Bag Drop. And this is the first time I'm doing it. It ends November 1st, but I'm gonna do one again in the spring so y'all can get in on it. It's a raffle. I have a bunch of prizes to give out for people that if you donate 1 bag to foster care with the items in it, then you get put in the raffle for raffle for the items. So if you donate 10, you get 10 raffle entries and so on. And it's just a way of motivation of getting book bags in every state. And it's a way of encouraging and educating others on, how easy it is to be able to give back. So y'all are already involved. So I don't have to really tell y'all what can you do to get involved. You're already doing stuff for the kids in the community. You're already doing stuff in your community. But if you ever want to help me, these are the items that I need and I use. In addition, I do Easter baskets every year. And I normally do Easter baskets in Baldwin, Washington, Jones, Jasper, Putnam, and sometimes Johnson County. So that's what I also do. It was really sad during COVID because I couldn't do Easter baskets because they couldn't get them to the families. So this past year was the first time I was able to do them since 2019. So it was very rewarding to get to do that. And also, I'm very highly involved with the Ronald McDonald House Charities. So if you drink sodas or you have pets and use cans with the tops, please save them for me. You can give them to Crystal, you can give them to Fina, and you can get them to me. But I take those regularly. Like if I go to Augusta, if I go to Macon, if I go to Charleston, I go to the Ronald McDonald House, and I try to disperse evenly and take them wish list items. And the reason why that's so important, and something you may not know, is that when parents adopt a child at birth, the Ronald McDonald House lets them stay there, the adoptive parents. When Judson was born, he was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania. There was no room at the hospital because there were so many children being born, so we could not stay at the hospital. And when we got to the hospital in Pennsylvania, there were 2 people waiting on us, the caseworker and the Ronald McDonald House. And while Judson was in the hospital, we were able to stay there free of charge. So it's not just for sick children, it's also for adoptive parents, which is pretty amazing. And then lastly, the Methodist Children's Home and the Baptist Children's Home, we have Macon and Baxley. They have not only the children, but they have the mothers. A lot of them, like the Baptist Children's Home, also has women, and they're always needing items because a lot of times they've come with nothing as well. So this is just a list of some of my upcoming events. I'm really excited to say that I'm getting to walk in New York Fashion Week for the 2nd year in a row, but this year I'm getting to walk for a designer, Mark DeFang, and he might not be well known to y'all, but he is well known in the pageant world. If you ever see pageant girls wearing those monster heels, that's him. And I'm really excited about that. The top picture, I just submitted my first audition for a film in Atlanta. I have not heard back yet. I was really nervous about doing that. I'll admit I had to drink a glass of wine before I did that, but it was really cool that I had the opportunity. And I actually have a a modeling contract with Hot Models in Atlanta as part of my package for winning the pageant. So I'm getting to walk in New York Fashion Week and having chances to be in movies, film, and stuff because of that. And in addition to that, I'll be doing things for the Ronald McDonald House Earth Day. I'll be in Chicago in April, and then again, I'll be in Mexico in July, all because of pageantry. Okay, does anybody have any questions? And also, please follow me on social media, and I have a website. I do a blog, and I would love for you to subscribe and get those blogs, or just, go look every once in a while and see what I'm talking about. It's fun to do different. I don't just talk about pageantry. I do recipes, and I like to upcycle. And actually, I just submitted my first article to VIP Pageantry magazine as a contributing writer for the fall issue, and they've asked me to write an article for the Christmas issue. So I'm working on that also. So a lot of fun things, but does anybody have any questions? Yes.
I have 3 quick ones.
Okay.
I'm assuming y'all are a 501c.
Yes,
And do you have a board?
I do. The board is myself, my best friend, and my sister-in-law. It is a family affair, but yes, we are. So I became a 501c3 right before COVID hit. I mean, it's so many things stalled because of COVID, but when I started in 2016, and several of my friends had said, you need to become a 501c3. And I said, I agree, I do, I want to, but I didn't feel that it was right to use donations for the legal fees, and I couldn't just pay for it out of pocket. But one of my friends, good thing about small town, her business, she said, our business is going to pay for it. And so I am a 501c3.
Do you have a card on you?
I might,
When we're done, give me 5 minutes.
sure, be glad to. Anybody else?
I guess I just want to commend you for what you're doing. I mean, it's amazing how your story and then how you have been used by God to what you're doing. So I commend you for that. I get emotional thinking about that. I have a friend that's adopted children, so I really feel it.
Yeah.
My other question is, how do you do payroll at Georgia College?
I hide in my office. Fina comes and keeps me straight. I will admit that. When I'm having a hard time, I call her. She
Well, obviously you juggle it all.
I'm in between the two of them. So I'm between Brett and Fina. I'm on this, yeah. It's, you know what, it's a humbling experience. How does that sound? It's very, it'll take me down to a notch or two real quickly. But actually my mom worked in accounting my whole life, and I can remember when I was a freshman at Georgia College, I was taking an accounting class, and I would go to her, I would drive to Sandersville and get her, the accounting manager, to help me do my homework. And they, so much so they thought that he was my boyfriend, and mom was like, that's my child, she's come in to get tutored. But I was like, why would you do this for a living? And now I'm eating my words. So but yeah, so I've been in payroll long enough now. It's just a part of life. Yes.
What are the ages of foster children? I know it can be anything, but is there more prevalent?
Well, the average age is like 7, 8 years old, but they're all ages, because you'll have children come in that are babies, you'll have teenagers, and according to the agency, some of them will even continue to help children when they're 18 years old. So I did an Easter basket, and it was a lot of fun for a foster child who's at Georgia now. She got into Georgia, and she was there, and we were able to make her a basket with all kinds of Bulldog stuff and t-shirts and stuff to send to her in college. So I just thought it was really cool. But yeah, it'll be all ages.
Well, so like you talk about the kids age out.
Mhm.
Okay, are there programs to help those kids out there?
There are some, but they're like me. So I have a friend, she's also a pageant girl, that has an organization called Dorothy's House, and that is in Gwinnett area. And it's to help children who have aged out of foster care, to help them apply for jobs, have clothes to wear, get into school, apply for scholarships. But it's dependent on people like us to help them find their way. Real quick, I'll tell y'all, so at the Petite USA, the girl that was 3rd runner-up, she was Mrs. DC, and she kind of came in late to the game, so I didn't know her that well, but we had chit-chatted, And when I mean, this is during the pageant, this is during like finals, and she just all of a sudden looked at me and said, I was one of those kids that carried a trash bag till I was 14 years old. I just wanted you to know. And I was like, please don't let me cry when I'm fixing to go on stage. Is this your tactic to beat me? But it, you know, it was one of those things that I told her, I said, and look where you are now. And she said, that's right. She said, so I can, she said, it's hard. It's hard. And you see that God places people in your lives. And I'll tell you one other thing. So working at Georgia College, I've had student workers over the years, and, I had a student worker from the time she was an incoming freshman until the time she graduated. And I wondered why a chemistry major would want to work in payroll. And I just, I was kind of was like, okay, she was the hardest worker. She's the best student worker I've ever had. And she was real quiet, but she moved from sitting with my team to sitting with me during the time she was there. And I think she was about a junior. And one day, so I had my desk and she sat right in front of me. So her back's to me, and she said, Allison, I just wanted to tell you something. And I was like, okay, what's going on there? And she said, I've never told you this. She said, but I was in and out of foster care growing up. And she said, and I just wish I had had a bag like that when I was, when that was happening to me. And she started helping me with all that. But y'all, I was never so glad that she had class about 5 minutes later, because I was just sitting there like jaw clenched, like, you got to leave. I had to shut my door because I was like, okay, God, now I know why she's been here for these years. This chemistry major that wants to be a doctor working in payroll. And it was because God put her there for me. But I still talk to her like she's been gone for 3 years now, about 3 or 4 years. I talk to her probably once a week still. I still keep in touch with her, but she has helped me with foster care bags ever since then. But you just never know why somebody's brought into your life and the reason for it, and the amount of joy that they can spread because of their journey as well.
We are going to donate a book to the local library in your honor. And we would like for you to autograph it for us. You also get to choose one of these beautiful handmade pens made by our own Greg. Everyone. All right, thank you, Allison. All right, let's remember to keep Jola and her mom and Wendell and his family in our prayers. Joy, thank you for visiting again today, and we're going to make it official next week. If you don't have your raffle tickets, see Aaron. And our thought for the day is look up and not down, look forward and not back, look out and not in, and lend a hand. Have a great day.